Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is going to be another just amazing panel for the Vendors Hall. I'm Kalia from Science Division.
I'm Jay, also from Science Division.
And we are so excited, first of all, to have so many amazing vendors and community members who have been a part of this day. Special thanks to all of them. Make sure you go to vendorshall.com, check out the merch. They're just spectacular deals just for today. But also, we're here to have some just incredible conversations. And I am so thrilled to introduce the SyFy Sistas, who are going to just continue another, our great day of amazing conversation. Listen to these people. They are very, very smart. They have amazing things to tell us. And now I'm going to take myself out of the way so we can just listen to you.
Thanks, Kalia.
Thanks, Kalia. Thanks, Jay. Hi, everybody. We're the SyFy Sistas, and I am Tamia Harper. I have with me here on this panel Fran Taylor. Say hi, Fran.
Hi, Fran.
Sabrina Wood.
Yo, yo.
Yvette Blackman. Hey. And J.D. Keeling.
Howdy.
So welcome, everybody. We see the Chat Pack family is in the house.
Chat Pack in the house, hey.
And the SyFy Sistas mothership folks are in the house. So we're really excited to be here. Thank you all for taking some time out of the election day to spend with us. It makes us feel very, very special. Today, we're bringing you the panel, She Looks Like Me.
Yay.
Women of color in Star Trek and popular science fiction. It's a big deal for those of us that have, for some of us like us with the melanin in our skin and the curly hair, to look up on TV and see somebody who looks just like us. I want to open up the discussion with Fran. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to start with you. Who was the first woman that you saw in a science fiction franchise that you identified with or who made an impact on you?
Profound impact back in 1966. Miss Nichols, Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura on the original Star Trek series. I was 11 years old. I looked up and I saw this woman who looked like me, who was articulate, intelligent. She had this thing sticking out of her ear, and she had these people who listened to her, and I was amazed. I lived in the South. I still do. I was born and raised in the South, and that was the first time I had ever seen anybody who looked like me playing a non-stereotypical role, and I was hooked from then on. Now, this was in 1966. I was a child, and from then on, I was a Trekkie from the original series.
Sabrina, what about you?
Yeah, well, we're giving it away here because Fran and I are both of those TOS people that we saw this in broadcast. No, we didn't see it in the reruns. Okay, I know it just doesn't even look like it's believable, but that's true. And so we saw Uhura, and yeah, like Whoopi Goldberg, we were all sitting there 10, 11 years old, and we just freaked out. I mean, called our daddies in the room, like, look, there's a colored lady, because that's what we were back then. We were colored ladies. And it was just incredible. It was, I don't think that people can really have any idea, in this day and age, what that was like, because there really was just, maids and servants. That was all that Black women were on TV, if they were even on TV. So maybe you could sing a song, but you sure couldn't, talk to the whales. No, that wasn't happening. So,
Yvette?
That's my favorite one.
Well, I watched TOS. I'm assuming it was reruns when I remember it, because I was born at that time. But I didn't like Star Trek when I was pushed into it. My mother watched it, but I watched it because my ex-husband watched Next Generation. So I was like, why am I still in this fandom? What is happening? Why can't I just... But then Deep Space Nine came on, and I kind of fell in love with that. But I was really falling in love with TNG at the end because Sariel Rager came on, and she was a pilot, right? So there was this big thing about her being on TNG, and there was a black woman on the who was driving the ship, and I was like, oh, I like this. So she kind of, even though she wasn't a big part of the show, to me, I was like, yo, I like her, because I was that girl who wants to fly the ship. I want to drive a fast car. I want to be in the big truck. When I was in the military, I drove the trucks. I drove the Hummer. That was that girl. So when I saw her, I was like, oh, so she's the one that kind of hooked me. Even though, I still, I was like, all right, whatever. But she hooked me, and then it kind of moved on from there. And then Cassidy Yates, I kind of fell in love with her. I love the love story. And then, but she was also a captain who had her own ship. So, those kind of girls, I like them. I like those type of girls. So that's me right there, I like, but I think, but also I like them, but I don't know if I saw myself in them. I like them, they were cool, but when I saw, now I got a blank, from Picard.
Raffi?
Now, Raffi, I saw me because I saw her struggle. I saw her as a mom with kids and being in the military, and the kid came second, and all of that. I related more to that, and that was a complicated Black woman, and most of us, because we have to live these lives, are extremely complicated, So I think I got more out of her than I did the rest of them. I like what they did, but with her, she's right here in my heart.
I feel you. I feel you. JD, what about you?
Martha Jones from Doctor Who.
Nice.
Yeah. Completely deviating on the fandom here, but yeah, I remember, I was probably in high school when I first got into Doctor Who, and Martha,
what was that 2 years ago?
Where I
started. You're the baby of our bunch. I had to give you a little something.
Yeah, but Martha was kind of where I started, and she was great because she was a med student. She was just as smart and just as capable, and she was she was older than me, but still, not too much older than me, so it was all like, yes, look at her going out there in space, doing stuff, timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly goodness. It was wonderful.
I love it. I love it.
The Whovian in the group. Okay.
Right? God for you. Because otherwise we get to be pretty one note. But I mean, I'm gonna deviate from the Trek norm also a little bit. And because while I loved, like Yvette a little bit, I loved seeing these women on screen in Trek, and especially Guinan, I always thought Guinan was just so cool. I always wanted to be that really cool person that people just came to with their problems and stuff. I don't know why, because I was a crazy kid. Right. So, but, it wasn't until I saw Zoe on Firefly.
Now.
That's my girl. That's me. That's who I want to be in my alter ego, because I had Xena, Warrior Princess, but she didn't look like me, but she acted like I felt on the inside. Like every day I felt like I had some swords that I was just going to break out, just like, on your ass.
How'd that go again? We got some moves in here. Okay, girl.
But then I saw Zoe. And Zoe was confident and competent. She was complex. I thought it was cool that she was married to a white dude, because I was so tired of Hollywood always wants to pair. If you're Black, you go with the Black person. If you're Asian of some sort, you go with some random Asian person. If you're Latino, and my world didn't look like that. And that's not how my family looked,
Hey, We're getting a lot of love on Firefly in the comments here.
Yeah.
People are asking you to do the yell. Do the yell?
I can't do the yell. I can't do the yell. I'm not even.
Charlotte, Christy, we see you. All right. Justin,
and
everybody, Firefly.
And I always felt like, I never wanted to be the captain of the ship, but I wanted to be that badass pilot. And I always wanted to be second in command. Like I don't know why. I just never felt like I wanted to be the captain, but I'm always the support chick, but the way that she supported was deep, it wasn't out of servitude. It was out of love and commitment. And they had been through some stuff together. So, that's, that was my girl.
Okay.
Oh yeah. The Cena yell, but yeah, baby, it's not happening. So, the question becomes we're up here, this group exists for a reason, and we're having this panel today for a reason. Like, why do we need this panel today? Like, we just had a Black woman get elected as vice president, Black and South Asian.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Okay, let's do the yell.
Okay, yeah, I'm keeping it internal.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
That's the part.
I don't want to be political.
So, what's the point of us having this panel? Why do we need this panel? I throw this question out to you guys. Why do we need this panel today?
Well, obviously, nobody else is doing anything like this. I haven't seen anything like this, highlighting people who look like us actually in sci-fi. Who else is doing this? I don't know. Somebody tell me. I think it's really sorely needed in 2020. We're doing this. Okay, I'm done. We're doing it. Nobody else is doing it. And it needs to be done. It needs to be done.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to fess up because I was not a Firefly watcher and I just got, all right, don't judge. But, Tamia and Fran just keyed me into this being in this group, and I'm like, oh, Firefly. Yeah, I heard about it. I knew about it. Well, yeah, whatever. And I go back because we're getting ready for the panel. I'm like, dang, I got to watch Firefly. What Gina was, wait a minute. So the panels needed, like Fran is saying, just to remember these sisters who came before, and give them their due and put them up there, and so that you don't forget that they did break through these barriers and was the one and only on that set. But I think we have some other reasons for keeping these panels even going today, because JD, you hit on it a little early when we were talking backstage. You were saying like why just because you got Black people in it don't mean that you're done.
Oh yeah. They're like it's always great to see yourself, but I mean honestly, if you look at science fiction, do most people see themselves? Like,
Right.
What has really changed since Star Trek premiered? Like, can you really it's not like you can just rattle off a list of shows where it's all like, oh yeah, this one has a Black lady, this one has Asian women, this one has Latino women. No, it's so like, okay, you have these 5 shows spanning 20 some odd years. If you just group them all together.
So it's needed. It's needed.
Yeah,
and I think you hit on something really key there in your statement. You said most people don't see themselves, because the myth is that the majority of people in the world are these white men. And that's the myth. It's actually the majority of the people of the world are actually people of color. That's the majority of people in the world. So it's imperative, I think, for us to see ourselves. I think what we're experiencing now is this action of us creating our own spaces, and we stopped waiting for folks to include us all the time, which is how the SyFy Sistas was born.
Yes.
Right? We were born because our points of view were not welcome in a lot of the fandom spaces where we were existing. So we're like, you know what? This is stupid. We're going about this the wrong way. We're like knocking. Can we come in? Can we have a seat at your table? When actually it's like, oh wait, I got a table right here, and I'm gonna call my girlfriends, and we're gonna have dinner together, and we're gonna do our thing.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Firefly. So, because it doesn't, you don't have a chance to give it that, that deeper dive, and whereas people want to talk about what's going on in especially Star Trek, because I think, as we were going through all of this and looking at the history of women of color, or specifically Black women in science fiction, it's few and far between, and Star Trek is really doing a lot of it. Now, other shows have definitely come out. We had, people in Battlestar Galactica, we have people in, of course, Doctor Who, and we've got The Expanse right now, which I'm loving. I don't know who else is on The Expanse with me. Oh my God, my girl Naomi. So, yeah, I'm a belter, baby. I'm a belter. If I was in The Expanse, I'd be one of them soft bone belters. So I think it's really great that, we've got all this stuff coming out, but as we say, you want the representation to be true. You can't just like, it's sort of like what I see. Okay. Like what I see in Hallmark movies, like they want to go and put more Black people in it, but they've got basically a white storyline. They just pull out a white character and then drop in a Black character and just, she's still baking cookies and singing the song. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. It's not exactly the same thing. Like, Discovery's got like a sister with braids. Like, okay, that's looking like me now. Not like, I don't know. It's like they're really trying to get more of a representation in that is true to our culture instead of just putting any Black person in a spot. Which I can understand people saying like, oh, we're going to cast colorblind, but sometimes you want somebody that is like, no, I want a Black person in this role, and I want it from a Black point of view.
Yeah, because you know what, I'm tired of seeing to be the best friend, especially in movies and Hallmark. She's the best friend, or she's the partner of the person who runs the company, or she's the assistant. She's not the focal point. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like the Disney shows, all the Disney shows, those teenage shows, kid shows, the Black kid is the sidekick.
Sidekick, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The spunky sidekick.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, and then you get those other stereotypes with like all the Asian kids are super smart, and all the Latino kids like that, they're all immigrants, that came like just got here yesterday, live like 15 people to an apartment or some crap like that, I mean, it's like it's the same old tropes over and over and over. I think now, I think what Discovery is doing so well is not just having the representation on the screen, but in the writer's room and in production. I think that's where we're headed. I mean, it clearly makes a huge difference on the storylines and how these stories are told.
But what kind of gets me, Deep Space Nine was one show that showed Black people in the positive light. That was one of the best father, and I know we're talking about women, but the best single father and son Black family that was going on then. Nobody noticed it because it was science fiction. It was Star Trek, and they didn't think that it was relevant. But you had a whole show. You had a show where you just saw him and Cassidy, him and his son. And Cassidy Yates. Let's not forget her. She was a captain of her own. She had her own company and everything. I so admired what Deep Space Nine did with their characters and how they drew them out, and they look like me. I just loved it. So I that came up when you said that. I just remembered that.
We got a question here in the comments from Jeff, and he's asking, he wants to know what our comments would be on what Star Trek could do better with representation.
I was just gonna wait till the next question came up, but since we're here now, yeah, you mentioned Star Trek Discovery and that it's good for representation. But is it? Because let's honestly look at the show. Okay, season 1, sure, we had Michael, black woman raised by white Vulcans, whatever. But we hyped up
White Vulcans.
who
That's
was
so true.
you know,
That is so true.
I never thought of it like that. White Vulcans. Oh my God.
The Black Vulcan.
there are black
Okay.
Vulcans. She was
Keep
raised by
going. Keep going.
We've seen like 2 Black Vulcans ever.
Okay. But like with Georgiou, like before the series came out, they were hyping her so hard. She's gonna be the best. She's gonna be the greatest. She is killed off in episode 2,
Right.
and then she's brought back as an evil version of herself, which isn't. It's not quality representation, because you told us this woman was one of the best captains Starfleet had. She is our standard, and what do? You bring her back as the exact opposite, like.
Right, it's the dragon lady trope. Yeah, it's the dragon lady trope that you sort of like, Asian woman is going to be like, exotic, mysterious, evil, want to kill everybody all the time. It's like an old ass trope, but here we go. Yeah.
I think, JP, that's such a good point, because and it really works on my last nerve, that we were cheated out of these wonderful experiences with Prime Georgiou.
Yes.
And then so yet again the narrative gets shifted from like as Fran was saying, as opposed to Deep Space Nine, which was such a positive narrative and showed us like the best of how we can be. Then we get this other narrative of like, yeah, well, we're going to tell you outside over here happening off screen was all this great stuff, but you don't need it. And this is why we're here. The important thing for folks to see is the positive stuff, right? Is what we can be. This is what little girls need to see. Little girls don't need to see like another vampy woman who's like, who's only like using her sexual wiles as power, like that's her only source of power, or she's evil. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to see these other positive aspects. And I feel like it wasn't until you pointed that out to me that I really realized that I had missed that and why I felt so bad about that.
Right. Why we felt so mad that Georgiou got killed off so quickly. It was just like, oh.
However, I'm pretty sure Michelle Yeoh had some input into what happened and how it happened. I saw an interview where she said out of her own mouth, she told them that she was not going to go on there and play and get killed after 2 episodes, that they had to bring her back. Michelle Yeoh is an international star. I'm sure she had some input as to who her character was and how her character acted. I'm sure she had some input in that. I'm not saying she was in the writer's room or anything like that. I'm saying I'm sure she had some input as to how the character de-evolved or evolved, depending on the way that you looked at it.
Yeah.
So she had some say-so in there. She did.
And then like,
and I didn't read that. I thought.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, as David points out, there's also Landry, who was the first South Asian woman, and what happened to her? She lasted 2 episodes.
Oh my God!
That's right.
David Powell. David Powell was mentioning Landry and Culber in the first season, just getting like X'd out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was Landry. Because I know that actress, and I was kind of excited she was in the show too. And then like, Ripper got her.
I remember when Voyager first came on, and they had I don't know, she wasn't the first officer, but she was at the con. It was a Southeast Asian woman, and I was like, oh, she's cool. I thought she was beautiful, and then she's dead. I was like, wait, this again? And that was Voyager. I don't know why I couldn't just keep her, but it seems like look at Picard. I mean, it's a guy, but the first person to die. is
Oh, well, we got a
I
whole
was just gonna
big
say that.
issue. We're straying away from women of color, but the Sci-Fi Sistas have a whole issue with how many Black people got killed in Picard. I mean, you need
I'm
to
like,
speak to
what are you
somebody.
trying to tell me, Michael Chabon? You know, like you keep killing my Black folks as soon as they crop up. You know, like literally, like they're there for a second and then bam, they're gone. I'm like, shorty, you got to be kidding. Or they're stupid. You know, or they're stupid. Like, you know, anyway, that's another
That's
show.
that's a podcast. Okay.
That's another panel.
I want to ask you guys about like the impact that like for instance Sabrina and Fran, when you saw Nichelle Nichols, I'm like, for me, you know, there's all these women that we saw. Nichelle Nichols as Uhura, Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan, Gina Torres as Zoe, and Dominique Tipper now as Naomi Nagata. And,
Oh, my girl.
Seeing these women up there, like, remember, like the taking us back to those first moments. Do you and the impact that these women had on us? Do you feel like these roles or these women are having like the same impact now on young women now as they did on us, like back in the day? You know, like for instance, Naomi Nagata, that character coming up now after Nichelle Nichols, like you know, on the heels of all these other women. Do you think that impact, how do you think that's affecting young women today? And I'd love to see people in the chat talking about that too. Like, you know.
Yeah, I love Naomi's character because she is somebody that, like, she's playing a belter. And if you know The Expanse, like the belters are sort of like the group of humans that are segregated almost out in the outer rim.
And disenfranchised.
And disenfranchised, and yeah, they're scrambling, and they're the Black people of the universe out there. So and Naomi is one of these people, and she's brilliant, and she's a diplomat, and she's loving. She's a mother who's trying to find her child, which we got to see what's going on there. So she's a very complicated person because she goes against the captain of the ship a few times. She has her own mind, what she's going to do. So I love her character, but I don't know how, she's not a, fight him, knock him, sock him down like a 7 of 9 or a Giorgio or even a Michael Burnham. So she's kind of like behind the guys in the fighting because she's trying to tell them, we don't have to fight these people, but then they don't listen to her and they got to fight them. That's yeah, listen to Naomi, they wouldn't have to fight.
She's also like the smartest person on the ship, and she
is.
I mean, she she would give Chief O'Brien a run for his money.
For real.
On an engineer off, like, I don't know, shorty. Naomi,
but she's like the smartest emotionally too. She sees what's right and what's wrong on that show. She's sort of like the moral compass all the time. So she's a very interesting character that she's telling the guys. There's four main people and 3 men and 1 woman, and there's an Indian guy, East Indian guy, and 2 white guys, and Naomi is what is she? She's Dominican Nigerian, something like that. But anyway, so it's a very interesting mix. But she is the one that's usually telling them when they're doing something wrong or pulling them back from something that's really amoral. So it's an interesting thing. And I don't know, I think there's so many shows now that I think it's hard for any one actress to make a big statement like in a horror when she was like the only thing going like in all of media, there was nothing else. So I don't know if they can they have that same effect, but like Justin is telling us over here, Dominique Tipper as Naomi Nagata is brilliant. She is. If you haven't watched The Expanse, give it a look. It's a great show.
Yeah, I mean, any JD, you had some interesting thoughts the other day about the impact of these women now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I can only really speak for myself, but having grown up during a point where like kind of a golden age of Black TV and just seeing like Black people on TV on like Disney and Nickelodeon and everything else while I was growing up.
In the 90s.
It's not so much of like whether or not this is like, oh my God, that's me. No, at this point it's all like, are you good? because I can find a show that has better representation. So where are you ranking in this whole situation?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. You got to bring it now. It's not. It's like, okay, we broke through this. Oh, just the one, and that's the only one we need. So you got to come up with something. You got to show me this story makes sense. This person makes sense. This person is real. It's not like I'm telling you like Hallmark. Into white person, black person, don't care. It's I love my Hallmark movie, but I know what they are. They are what they are. It is what it is. So there's that.
Miss Yvette,
Yes.
you're mighty quiet over there. You got some thoughts on this, gal?
I don't know. I don't know what. There's so much out there now. So like JD said, I mean, I kind of thought I knew what I was going to say to that question before, but when JD mentioned that, she's in that. That's she's the younger generation. So the stuff that we're talking about and seeing she's seen that. Like I was saying before about the Disney shows. I have children close to her age, so they're growing up in this world too, where we see ourselves, but what does it mean? What are you giving? Mm-hmm. Are you giving me that sidekick again? I had that on the Disney channel. So
yeah.
Because I remember when me and my older daughter watched the short Trek, the girl that created the stars.
Mm-hmm.
She sat there and bawled. She was like, "No one does this. Who does this for us?" And that's the comment while she sat there. And I looked at it. I thought it was great. I thought it was very emotional to her because of the story. It wasn't just that it was about a little black girl. It was the story. There was a great story there. And the little black girl looked like a little black girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Black girl. It didn't look like they made a character and then colored in the face.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Little black girl looked like she did when she was little, with the ponytail, the little, the ponytails on the side.
Puffs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what?
Katie said, I was like, oh, I get that now, because I'm not looking at it that way, because I'm looking at it from my perspective as a kid from, I was in college when she was watching that black, I guess, the Cosby Show, the Different World, Fresh Prince, those they were on, but I was a young adult, when that was coming on. And that's party. So I was looking at them and not looking at them, but she, when you're a kid, that's what you're looking at every day, so, I see it through her eyes now. I understand what she's saying. You got to bring it. You got to have something more than just showing up. You can't just be sitting on the bridge of the Enterprise anymore. You got to
right.
There you go.
You need a story arc. You need something, and the story arc needs to make sense and be part of the main action, not like the B story.
Yep.
Then we'll be happy.
Yeah.
We want everything. What do we want? A story. What do we want? We want it now.
JD,
I was gonna say, kind of going back to the whole fact that I think it was Christine who said, you need cultural representation. I felt a lot more connected to Raffi, who is, she's black. Culturally, it even shows there is black there. It comes from black.
Right.
Than I did to Michael, because it's all she looks black. She don't act like us. She don't talk like us. But she's black. She is black. But it's a difference because that trigger isn't there.
Right. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I related.
What do you want, Fran? Come on, Fran. Fran is a friend. Go pop off. Go ahead, Fran.
Okay, I didn't get it. Okay, the first 2 episodes with Michael, I did get that because she was, the stoic Vulcan with the almost Vulcan hairdo, and everything. And then after she, mutinied and was sent to prison and back and, and she came back and her hair was natural and she would, give I mean, she could give some shade just by looking at people, okay? She kicked behind and everything. And the way she looked and talked to people, I saw Black woman after those first 2 episodes. I did.
You were like, it that had been a
Yeah,
sister.
and yes, and she was the smartest person in the room. And they made us know that by several things that they did. But she, and that's why I think Disco got so much kickback in the beginning, because even from the first trailer, before the episode, the thing started, they kicked back against Michelle Yeoh and Sonequa Martin Green being a captain and a first officer. They were both women of color, and people were outraged. Well, some people were, but not all. They were outraged, and I'm like, the show hasn't even come on yet. But after those first 2 episodes, I think Homegirl knew, okay, yeah, I'm Black. I've been to jail. Yeah, I'm here. Whatever. Because when she asked Lorca, well, why do you want me here? And she actually did it just like that. I got a question for you. Why do you want me here?
Right, like with the head rolls and the neck.
I mean, it wasn't like really pronounced and everything, but it was like,
but it was there.
You don't want, why
we saw it.
It was there. We saw it, and but no, I always thought she was Black after those first 2 episodes. I'm like, okay, kick ass, girl.
She was Black after those 2 episodes.
No, why? Yeah, after the first 2 episodes.
It's who you relate to. Like JD, I relate more to Rafi than I do to
Michael.
I mean, I like Michael, but I wouldn't say that I relate to her at all. But I love her character. But Rafi's here. Okay.
So
I love Rafi.
Team Michael.
I love Rafi.
Especially now that she's been away for a year, because the way she took out those trills last week, that was certainly like, that was a sister right there.
I just need to interject really quickly that Cleveland Booker has had a very positive effect on Michael.
On Michael, yes.
Because the sister is throwing down now. And hey, Anne Marie, we love you too.
Hey.
The sister is throwing down. But okay, so my question then, what I'm interested in us talking about is, we see these women. We've talked about who these women are. We haven't even brought up Belana Torres, yet.
Other girl.
Love her, or Hoshi.
Let's see some Hoshi. Hoshi Sato is, I thought, she's one of those characters that is very frustrating, because here we go again with a classic Asian kind of trope. She comes into the show and she's very shy. She's sort of like, quiet. She's sort of doubting herself, although she's pretty much the smartest person in that room too, because I mean, I love Hoshi in that show because there's no universal translator. Girlfriend is so deep that she's figuring out alien languages. I'm like, come on. And there was a lot of talk about the fact that there were 2 women on that bridge and that the 2 women didn't really speak to each other, but they did try to bring in T'Pol and Hoshi. Like, they had a couple of scenes, and they did develop the Hoshi character so that, she got kicked out of Starfleet Academy, which I thought was crazy, because she's like, she broke a commanding officer's arm. I'm like, you know what? Hoshi's cool. She could pick any lock on the ship. I said, you gotta really get deep into Hoshi. She's kind of crazy. I have a lot of Hoshi love, but I wish they had written that character really bad. I love the episode where she became the Empress of the Mirror Universe. I was like, totally happy when Hoshi had the whole enchilada.
That's right.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's right.
Yeah. But they didn't develop Torres at all. I mean, only thing you knew about Torres being Latina was her last name. You saw her father once, and that was it. It was always about her Klingon side. So,
I think that's really interesting because, like, in The Expanse, they tend to treat race the same way. In The Expanse, like, they're going on the supposition that we're now the great big melting pot, right? They're that we're going towards anyway, right? And so there are all these different people who don't look like what their last names or names sound like, you know. So hence Naomi Nagata. Where's Nagata coming from in this child? You know, like I don't see any Nagata up in her, but you know, that's how they're rolling in The Expanse. So it's really like they're not really addressing race. They're just that's how the way that they're addressing it is just that it's the norm, right? It's the polyglot. And now their society is not so focused on the color of your skin or the texture of your hair as to where you inhabit. Like you either inhabit the outer space with the belters in the asteroid, working on the asteroids and mining and stuff, or you inhabit Mars because you left Earth. And so there's a lot of resentment on Earth, the folks who were left on Earth against the Martians. So, you know, they don't even, they're just like, they're utopian in a way too, because they're just like, race doesn't exist.
Right.
You know,
right. Right. When the scene where, the scene when the Martian soldiers was against that one black Martian soldier, they were against him because he was from Earth. Right. It wasn't even about the fact that he was black. They were just like, that don't even matter. They were calling him the Earther. I was like, wow. But the prejudice was still very strong. Like they don't trust each other based on where you are from.
Right. Right. And then I have to, like, if we're calling out, like, you know, Bobby Draper is the Marine on The Expanse, and she is not white. I don't know
she's Samoan.
She's Samoan, and that girl is deep. She is powerful. She is strong. She is honorable. I mean, like, ooh, I love me some Bobby Draper. She is.
I do too. Gunny, my girl, Gunny.
Yeah. So, you know, the question becomes like, what role do these women play in your lives? You know, what effect do they have on you? Because if we can look at ourselves and see, you know, what effect they have on us, we can extrapolate the importance of these women, of us being able to see them and having these role models on the screen. Who wants to go?
Well, for me, go ahead, Fran.
Well, I'm going to go back to Discovery. Okay. They have, first of all, they have Michael Burnham. They have Dr. Pollard. They have Owo. They have 3 Black women and 3. Michael is more prominent, but they have these 3 Black women on the ship who are important. One is a doctor. The other one is ops. And you know, they're doing really better with the crew, the bridge crew this season, I see. And I like seeing that. But they play a role because I like this group is. They look like me. And, you know, and I like the parts that they play. It takes me back almost to that 11-year-old girl back in 1966. They look like me. And they are there and they're not going anywhere. And I see people sometimes in the groups that, Michael should go. And I'm like, wait a minute, you wouldn't say Kirk would go. You wouldn't say that, you know, Archer would go. Why has Michael got to go? She is the lead on this series. So why would she go? Also, on a side note, I loved her hair, the way they did the braids and stuff. And there are white people out there talking about her hair. They know nothing about braids. A lot of them don't even know the difference between braids and locks. Okay, so they don't know. So I won't even comment on the thread because it's like, why? Why? The braids and from what I saw where Wilson Cruz said that it was Sonequa Martin's Green idea for her to have braids in this season. Yeah. So.
And it's a big thing. So people may not understand why that's a big thing for us, you know, but we've just come through a year where we saw a boy have his hair cut off during a wrestling match because, you know, it wasn't, you know, kids get sent home from school. You get, you know, chastised at your job because of your hair. You know, it's not professional. It's not this. This has been a big thing. You know, we got to have laws now in this country about hair shaming. So it may sound frivolous. It may sound like it's just a hairdo thing, but it like somebody said, my hair is a political statement.
Right.
So,
that somebody is me, you know,
Yeah.
and I say it all the time. My hair is a political statement because what I was told, like I'm a mixed child, right? Like I came up with this hair that nobody in my family on my mother's side was full-blooded Native American. They didn't know what to do with my hair. And they kept trying to straighten it, and they kept putting all this stuff in to straighten it, just straighten it, because that's what looked right. And when we got dressed up to go to holiday dinners and stuff, we had to make sure it was straight because you had to look neat. So you're telling me, you know, and then I got my first job and you had to make sure it was straight so I could look professional. So you're telling me that myself as I exist, I am not professional. I am not neat. I am not clean. I am not attractive. Which is the message that comes through when people keep trying to make you conform to their ideals of beauty and what is right. And so Black women's hair is always and always will be a political statement, how I choose to
Always.
you know. And so Sonequa making that choice. And let's go back to Avery Brooks with fighting to shave that stupid hair off of his head and go bald. Like, you know, I mean, and they didn't want that because he was what? Too black, too strong. You know, y'all remember that song, Too Black, Too Strong. So, you know, but I see, I know I haven't answered. I jumped in and sidetracked the question.
That's okay.
That is what, you know, why representation matters.
I do want to just leave, just for a second, leave TV for a second and just make 2 shout outs for some icons of mine that were in film, because I do love movies, you know, and I'm going back to 84 just to put her out there, because this was one that was a big deal. You're talking about hair. When this came out, Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome, Tina Turner, when she came out in 1984, we were all up in that theater. Like, oh, we don't need another hero. Oh, come on. And the same year, although it wasn't sci-fi, but it was more like, you know, fantasy, whatever. But we had Grace Jones in the same year playing Mayday in, you know, A View to a Kill. And before that, she was Zula in Conan the Destroyer. So, I mean, we had some serious kick-ass women, both villains, though, you know. But then, you know, we get into my favorite movie sister in a sci-fi, Alien versus Predator, Alexa Woods. Note the last name, Woods with an S, but I love her. I mean, you know, here she was the only one that could make it up to Mount Everest or whatever, survived Alien, got blooded by the Predator. I mean, this sister is bad. So if you have not seen Alien versus Predator with Sanaya Lathan playing this sister that is just going to hang with the Predator, please check it out. So yeah, that was my movie Black woman in sci-fi that I always loved. Alien versus Predator.
We are running down. Time is getting short on us, and it has been a really great discussion. But I really wanted to. Carolyn Kay put a great question in there about talking about Beckett Mariner and her mom on Lower Decks, which I think really fit. I love the representation of this relationship between the two of them. I mean, it's just so natural, this mother-daughter like combat.
She's a Starfleet brat.
You look like you're about to bust a gut. Come on with it.
I got them. I got all these brats. They act just like that. Every time I look at them, like, that's this house right here. This is awesome. The one before that, I love the relationship, but the thing, like, so Dawn, I love her to death because I remember as Jaleesa on Different World. But if you notice, as you know, I have locks, so I'm thinking that the captain Carol has locks.
Yes.
So I'm looking. I'm like, those are what locks look like, and every time I look at her, I'm like, does she have locks?
Yeah, it looks like locks.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm not a little girl, but I saw somebody on TV with locks as a captain.
Yeah.
Oh, and that, you know, I'm like, okay. So and then I go back to what JD says. Well, maybe it does make a difference because I'm sitting there geeking out about this captain has a locks and it's a cartoon. I think she has locks, So yeah, but I love that dynamic. It's very, like you said, it's very natural because I am an Army brat and they are Army brats, my children. So yeah, there's a lot of that. And they're like preacher kids too. Preacher kids are like that too. They're just out of control.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then you let them. Once you get older, you let them. You're like, okay, whatever.
I think that I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fran.
No, I was when you brought up the PK, the preacher's kid. That's what Dawn Lewis said on the panel. She says that that Beckett is like a preacher's kid. She's out there in the back smoking and doing all this. But her mom and dad is an admiral and a captain. So of course she's going to rebel. But she has a heart of gold, and she's also really, really smart.
Really, really smart.
Yeah, she's really, really smart.
That's those are those kids.
Got a lot of lower decks love coming in through here too.
Yeah, and I think that they really hit it out the park with Lower Decks because what they really did was just portray a regular family. I mean, like sometimes we get these roles that we have to be like the strong one, or they put us in like the crackhead, or you have to, like, instead of just being human. And that's what they show so well. Their vulnerabilities and their strong points and their deep love for each other, even though they get on each other, and that's just human.
Yep. Got a question here in the chat. I'd like to know.
We have about 3 minutes.
Yeah. What did anybody think about Michael Mahannon saying that he didn't know Mariner was black until he met the actress?
That's the way you run a show.
Yeah.
You just let it happen. I guess it's gonna be you.
Well, I mean, it's kind of similar to the writers on Deep Space Nine talking about Major Kira's character, and they were just writing this character, and didn't know that it was a woman who was going to be playing this character. It was about the character themselves. It's about the humanity inside, that shines through, and you could tell. They didn't have an agenda. They just wanted to write a good character.
There you go.
Right.
Well, we're going to have to sign it off here, I think.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. It means a lot to us that you shared this time with us.
Hey, Trina and Angeline. I'm saying hi to friends.
Yes, there's a lot of people to start out here.
I saw Homer in there too earlier.
And Homer, Linda B, and Charlotte, and one Trek fan girl.
One Trek fan, yeah. Hey, girl. Justin.
There's a lot now. So we appreciate everybody so much. Please come join us on Facebook with the Sci-Fi Sistas Mothership. And soon there will be a podcast coming in the very near future. So we hope you guys join us for that too.
So that's when we'll tell you all about what we think about Picard. Okay.